Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the best Void Warlock build. Now, I know I made a Void Warlock build a little while back, but after doing some more playtesting, I've really come around to enjoying this build, and I hope to show why. Starting out with our abilities. First up, we have our Super Nova Bomb, specifically the Cataclysm variant. Now, you can flip-flop between whichever super you like, as it's not really a huge part about our build. But I really enjoy Nova Bomb as it's a great way of getting some massive target damage, especially since it's void. Next up, we have our Healing Rift, and yes, specifically this one, I'll explain why later. Next, you also have your choice of jump, and our melee, Pocket Singularity. So to me, this is really a nothing thing, as it's our only charged melee. However, it does have some knockback and will make targets volatile, so there is some utility here. And for our grenade, we're using Vortex Grenade. This is a great nade that does some really good damage over time. But now, let's go over to our aspects, starting out with Chaos Accelerant. Hold grenade button to overcharge your grenade, making it deadlier and more effective. Specifically, Vortex Grenade, which increases the size and linger duration of the Vortex Grenade. Now this is very useful as a longer duration will help us damage more targets. And next up, we have Child of the Old Gods. Cast your Rift to create a Void Soul. When you damage a target with a weapon, your Void Soul flies to them and drains them, doing damage and weakening them. When a target is being drained, you are granted grenade and melee energy if running Healing Rift, or health if running Empowering Rift. Defeating a target who is being drained by your Void Soul grants class ability energy. So, big ball of text here. Basically, you cast your Rift and you get a buddy that you can deploy. The Void Soul will drain targets that stay within its effective radius. Any target it drains will have weaken applied to them, and because we're on a Healing Rift, draining targets will also give us grenade and melee energy. Defeating targets that are being drained will grant us class ability energy. So your Void Soul draining targets will grant energy to all of our abilities and weaken that target. Now, let's make it better with our Fragments, starting out with Echo of Harvest. Defeating weakened targets creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. So, our source of weaken is from our Void Souls, which defeating targets drained by your Void Souls will now also grant us Orbs of Power and Void Breaches. Void Breaches granting us class ability energy. But unfortunately, this does take away -10 from our intellect stat. Next up, we have Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. So we're going to have a lot of grenades with this build, so now getting kills will give our void weapons volatile rounds, which will allow them to stun barrier champions as well as generating a few more explosions. This also adds a +10 to our strength stat. Next up, we have Echo of Remnants. Your lingering grenade effects have an increased duration, so our Vortex Grenade is included with this. And this duration increase stacks with our Chaos Accelerant fragment, making our Vortex Grenade last from a base of about 5 seconds to about 8 seconds. Which, trust me, it's a very noticeable difference. And rounding it out, we have Echo of Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power grants Devour. Come on now. We can't play Void Warlock without Devour. Devour being a buff that refreshes on kills, granting us full health and grenade energy on kills. Devour can now also be refreshed and activated by just picking up an Orb of Power or a Void Breach, which is nice when you're not able to immediately kill a target. Having Devour activated by a fragment also saves us an aspect slot. However, this does take away -10 from our recovery stat. Now let's move over to our exotics, starting out with Wave Splitter. How many times have I asked you to hear me out in these videos? Like, come on now. Our intrinsic Harmonic Laser reads, laser damage has 3 power levels that oscillate while the trigger is held down. Our trait, Supercharged Battery, reads, collecting an Orb of Power grants a period of maximum power that starts with an automatic reload. Sustained fire in this mode suppresses targets. So, the once PlayStation exclusive exotic got a buff at some point. I don't remember when. But picking up an Orb of Power will let it remain in its high damage mode, letting it suppress targets that it damages, meaning it can now stun overload champions. So because this weapon is void, it can also take advantage of our volatile rounds from getting grenade final blows, which will let it stun barrier champions. Next up, we have the Briarbonds. The king of Void Warlock exotics finally emerges. Our trait, One with the Void, reads, your Void Souls have a longer duration. They also gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets. You can retrieve your Void Souls by interacting with them, allowing them to be redeployed. So this exotic is giving some overall buffs to our Void Souls, but also letting us redeploy them, meaning a Void Soul that is currently damaging targets, or not damaging anything, can be picked up for you to redistribute. You cannot pick up more than one at a time. However, if you pick up one and then place your rift, you can distribute two at once, but they will go to the same target. Now for our seasonal mods, we're going to want to start out with Elemental Siphon for more Void Breach generation. We're also going to want Void Hegemony for Void Overshield upon defeating weakened targets. We're also going to want to use Expanding Abyss, where all Void sources deal increased damage to weakened targets. And Shield Crush for melee buffs while a Void Overshield is active. As for our armor mods, you're just going to want any mods that will improve the quality of life for our abilities, as well as a Void Reserves mod to help with the ammo economy for our Wave Splitter. Now for our gameplay loop. Basically, what you're going to want to do for this build is find an initial group of targets and place your rift. Then shoot the target to deploy your Void Soul to it and let it damage those targets. Defeating afflicted targets will grant grenade, melee, and class ability energy, as well as generating a Void Overshield, Void Breach, and an Orb of Light for you. You can now charge up your grenade, and upon getting kills with it, you will be granted volatile rounds for your Void weapons. Picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power will grant you Devour for even more healing and grenade ability generation. An Orb of Power pickup will also supercharge our Wave Splitter, allowing it to fire in its high damage capacity, suppressing targets and stunning overload champions. And when volatile rounds is active from a grenade kill, we'll also be able to stun barrier champions. Whenever you get your rift, feel free to pop it to distribute even more Void Souls and move them around as needed. And a super can also be used whenever you'd like. So that's the build, but before we get to the showcase, I just wanted to take an opportunity to plug the Twitch. That's twitch.tv/allrightygaming, where I stream Destiny 2. In fact, I will probably be streaming when this video goes live. So feel free to come on by and say hi. After you finish here, of course. But your viewership is enough for me. With all that out of the way, let's go right to the showcase. Alrighty, let's see what this build can do. Start out with a nade. But check this out. Oh yeah. Here's our supercharged mode. And as expected, it's just gonna laser straight through all this stuff. But let's try out some Void Souls now. We'll leave that one there. And see how it very quickly melts yellow bars. Demolitionists. Oh crap. Yep, there they are. Get a couple Void Souls out. And it's a good thing we have our powerhouse weapon.
I've got you in my sights. Nope.
I just want to say, Void Souls do not play nice with targets that teleport. How's your day going, bro? And a great selling point is how I can deploy Void Souls and grenades in multiple areas to damage targets over time. Right there. Overload champion. Stunned. Of course, sending out another one. Watch it kill all those targets all on its own. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going on autopilot just playing with this build. Like, I'm hardly even providing commentary over this. It's just killing everything. Now let's see if it can kill a Tormentor. That's what we're using our Nova Bomb for. Bonus damage against weakened targets. Oh, you opened it with that. Still got a few bit of volatile rounds. Do some big damage right there. Alrighty. That was the build. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Stay alrighty.